The next order of business is going to be a presentation update on the Sullivan County Wireless Broadband Network by Legislator Michael Brook, Chairman of the Sullivan Broadband LLC. Mike, you have the mic.
I don't know where you want me to go. You want me to stand here? Want me to move anywhere?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Thank you, everybody here and see me. First of all, thanks to the council for allowing me the opportunity to come here and update everyone on where we're at. As everyone knows, we at the county were awarded 1.66 million EDA grant, and thanks to Senator Schumer's office, he helped immensely in us obtaining that grant. There's a local match of roughly 415,000 on top of that. So a lot of things have been taking place, and I'll start with the wireless piece. We've got a private company that we're working with. There's working through some contract language, and the back office. It's a huge piece. Working through some of that. But while we were awaiting the announcement whether or not we're going to get this grant, everything seemed to happen all the time. And as I mentioned to Lori yesterday, we're not quite all the way there as far as the agreement, but we were approached, we meaning the county, approached by a private company, and they were aware of this project. It's a company that's done work internationally. They're in 29 states currently. There'll probably be announced sometime this month, probably towards the latter part of the month, on their intentions. So they approached us. So everything's happening all at the same time. We're waiting for this answer on this grant money. We've been waiting for a long time. And through it all, we're in a very good position because we got the grant money. And this company that approached us, and it creates a very exciting opportunity for us in the county. The vision was always to create communications infrastructure in Sullivan County, which we currently do not have to this degree, which entails wired and wireless. So the wired piece, we always thought that at some point, as we grew the wireless network out, the money that we got, we reinvest, and we'd be able to have some wired solution as well. So this company has come along. They are bringing roughly $200 million to the Hudson Valley. A large part of that's going to be from Sullivan. And they're a fiber optic company that's going to run fiber, and they're going to provide service. So initial thoughts to this company. It's very exciting because the western part of the county is really focused. So I can't get into specifics yet because we haven't worked out a contract, but it's my guess is by the end of this month, we will have that in place. I talked to one of the principals this afternoon, working on a contract right now. And it brings a lot of excitement because this company, we're looking for that public-private partnership. And I think that's what a lot of these great opportunities they look for. So when this company approached us, it was one of the things we talked about is not only providing access to areas that currently don't have access to high-speed internet, but it was also, how we could best, as a county, as a private company, tap into some of the monies that are out there. We've been hearing about broadband funding for over 10 years. And let me ask you, how much of that can we really see? It's not an easy thing, because if it was easy, it'd be done already. So it's not easy. It's very costly. We got some rough estimates on what the dollar figure would be just to run fiber cable to our towers. Over $3 million. So there's a lot of money, and then with all permitting, so there's a lot. So we're working through all of this, and the good news is we're getting close. And once the announcement is made and I believe it's going to be done before Labor Day. We will put out a roadmap to the county so we can see what the phases are going to be, wired and wireless throughout the county, and how long that will be. And this is going to be a multi-year project to get this done. I'm extremely excited as somebody who's worked in the communications business for over 30 years. To have this type of company come in that's well capitalized, looking to spend the kind of money they are in the county, coupled with the A grant that we just received, I think being able to really tap into a public-private partnership to accomplish this is huge. And you know, it's for a long time, Sullivan County, you know, we kind of taken them where we could get it. And I think we're at a point now where I feel pretty confident saying that, you know, there's some bright skies in the future for us as far as high school access to broadband. And it's going to take time. This is not going to be something that's going to happen within a year. This is going to take some time to roll out, but it will roll out. And I'll be happy to come back and actually take any questions. I'm happy to come back once we have some of these details. I don't feel comfortable, obviously, talking about some of this until it's actually ironed out in the contract. But it's I was with the conversation I had this afternoon. It was basically it was agreed upon what to share, and just the dollar figure, 200 million, and I think it's going to be a little bit more than that upfront for the Hudson Valley. And originally, Sullivan County was number one on this because they're going to multiple counties. So if you don't get Sullivan County is now their first county to go to the world. So that's very exciting. So I'll take any questions if anybody has any about that. But like I said, I'm willing. Actually, I want to come back and share some details. And my guess is that we're quite a press conference will be announcing this with the roadmap, what this is going to look like, and the time frames that all this will be planned to take place.
Question, Aaron?
Does any of the project incorporate a cellular type service?
So the way I've always looked at this, once we have this infrastructure in place, wired and wireless, it opens up the ability to do more than just high-speed broadband. We can get into public safety. We can start to talk about cell. Now, cell's it's a little different, and it's not easy because you got to get carriers on. And that's, you know, you like to think, okay, we have a great spot, we can get a tower up. Gone. Well, it doesn't work that way. You know, I wish it did. But if we can have an infrastructure built, certainly having that infrastructure in more areas of the county, I would assume would make, depending on where a tower location might be sited, that potentially could be not as great of a cost or a lift for a carrier to come in and actually entertain cell tower. We have a lot. I'm not telling you anything. We have a lot of places in the county that are cell services very subpar. And you know, this, you know, once this is built, I mean, there's things like Wi-Fi. Say you have an event, you have an infrastructure in place. You could, for a day, for a period of time, have wireless, have Wi-Fi in an area, covered event, and have folks who are attending this event access to that. I mean, there's these things you could do. There's a lot of things you could do once the infrastructure is in place. And you know, my hope is that, you know, I was told just last week that the carriers kind of said, you know, we're kind of done in Sullivan County for now. Let's see if we, you know, I don't like that. I don't like that answer, but obviously taking into account we're not the only areas that are, you know, asking AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobiles and well, so my guess is through time that we'll be able to address some of these areas, but it's cells are harder lift, but certainly on the radar. I hope that's not a great answer, but it's a little bit of the reality of it.
I got you. We have a question, Johnny.
Hey, Howard. Is there a priority? So when you say the western part of the county, is the priority river corridor? And is there like a target area where you initiate the sort of service priority being dead zones, basically from Lumberland to Hudson, that is usually like the sort of danger zone, and it's where like you have a lot of river fatalities. So it's been a big point of focus in general.
So yeah, the particular areas can't quite go there yet. Only in a broad stroke. That is the western part is definitely something with our conversations that is early on in, if you will, the phases that as they build. There's just for folks who don't know, if you're running any kind of cable on the poles, there's quite a process to be able to do that. And that pole permit take an awful long time, and it's been subject to a lot of news. Williams here. Just the pole permitting process is quite it's been challenging for a lot of carriers that want to run fiber. Now, I think what seems to be happening, there was an area upstate near Albany that a company was awarded a contract to run fiber through a town west of Albany, where I believe the Spectrum was the incumbent. And typically, a lot of these fiber companies or service providers have been unwilling to go where it was already provided. That seems to be changing. It seems like the state is getting some money to change that, which I think is a good thing. We have an insatiable need for bandwidth. I think there's room for a lot of players. Competition is always good, not just for pricing, but for technology advantage, so on and so forth. So I think the environment's just starting to change. And so that's why I think the time on this public-private partnership is very important and will reap benefits to Sullivan County.
Okay, Larry.
Thanks for coming over, brother. This certainly is an exciting project that the county and you as a leader have taken this on. In the process of creating this infrastructure, and I assume we're talking now, as you're talking about fiber optics from house to house kind of thing. But would it possibly be feasible to, we just had an hour meeting before this one talking about the need for emergency services out here along the river. Would it be feasible somehow to have, as you maybe mentioned to earlier, periodic hotspots where people could get access from their phones in certain periodic areas along the river?
Right, and I think that's some of the conversations. I've gotten a couple calls from some town supervisors and say, hey, I've got some ideas about some wireless stuff here or what. So I said, look, that's the type of thing we want to be able to have. This is a kind of a unique thing because we're kind of used to an incumbent carrier coming to you and say, okay, we're gonna, all of a sudden you see trucks running, some cable on the road. Well, we want to identify some areas, some solutions, what some problems are, and try. I can't say everything's done right away, but just to work that into the engineering, because I think that is a obvious and huge need here that I think can be engineered in to look at the possibility of what would it take to do that. Because let's face it, infrastructure is there. Let's take advantage of it, and we can do a lot of different things once that infrastructure is in place. So. Absolutely, because I just see public safety as a big piece of this. It's not just broad, like I've always been saying, it's much more than that. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Susan, last question.
Okay, I guess the question that came up here and is that it's our impression that emergency services, and we're very much concerned with public safety, it would obviously on a commercial level, we would like to have broadband in Marylandburg and Calhoun and all the river towns that don't have it. But the public safety things were focused. And so it was, we said that emergency service people can speak to one another. They can communicate with one another. The Park Service can communicate with the Sheriff's Department and so on. But the person in trouble on the river, on Route 97, cannot. And so I need to know why that is.
That typically, most of those cases are simply cell service. My district is the northern part of the county. And you get up in the northern part of the county and there is somewhere here, there just isn't service. And that, and that's a quick answer because that's a lot of times what it is. They take their phone out and it's useless.
So what do you do about that? How does your project maybe intersect or help?
Well, you know,
You
it's
have the capacity for these people to communicate. It's not extended to the public, and that doesn't seem appropriate.
well,
Doesn't-
right. It's cell is a different beast, it just is. And because you have just a few carriers out. Right, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. You have Spectrum uses Verizon. So they gotta get on board because it's their network that you ride over. So there was an error that came to my attention the other day. There may be a nice solution for it. I don't know. Trying to contact the carrier now to see if they're interested in even doing a study to do it. So that is a difficult piece. We all know what it is as people who live in these areas that don't have them. Where I live, I have none of this, and we know it. But it is definitely frustrating to, because you think it should be so easy, and it's obviously not. And it does come down to money and the feasibility of an area. Because if a carrier was to go into, say, along the river, northern part of the county, they typically need to get some kind of, they call a backbone fiber, some kind of feed to the tower. Sometimes they can bounce off of them. Usually in these areas, that's the hard thing for one tower to be able to see another tower. So it's quite an expense, just not only put to erect a tower, but to get, that kind of infrastructure built out to the tower. So it's a huge thing, and they want to get a return on investment. So how many people want to use it? And so those are the types of, that's the reality. It will be nice at some point, and maybe this will happen, where there's an awful lot of money being pumped into broadband now. I think finally there's some movement on it because it's just some of the things we're seeing. Perhaps something like cell, this will happen down the road with cell, because you can tie that away to the public safety. And it just seems the next logical place if federally or states are looking to spend money more wisely. I think that would be a great place to do it. So I hope that.
Okay, well, we thank you, Mike, for the update. And this is the second time you're back. The first time you're here, you got a pen. Now, today you get a litter sweep shirt. And if you want to know where to pick, talk to Giant Pizzolato. He'll give you 2 hours time. All right. Pick a litter barrier. So anyway, thank you very much.
Let me just say, would love to come back at some point once we have some details ironed out to actually be able to give us details. So,
Terrific.
Fred wants.
take care, everyone.
Okay. All righty.
Andy, I think Fred wants to.
Good morning.
Fred wants